My name is Thomas Garnett. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia. I left here in '81, I think. I can't even remember anymore. Right.
Yeah, my name's Kevin Burnett. I'm from Topeka, Kansas. I graduated in 1979. One of the things that really taught me was just how to survive in the world and be on my own. Coming down here was the first time, that I had, without my parents, being away from home and shown me that I could survive and make it, as well as it prepared me to go on into the world and to deal with all the things you were going to deal with, in the larger world.
I was a little different. I was an older student. I was probably in my 20s when I arrived here. I had, I think, 2 kids, and I had worked in the working world when I came down here, and so it was kind of a cultural shock for me because it was like in the middle of nowhere, and I was talking about, just kind of arriving here. So I knew how to survive, but I was kind of like thrown out in the ocean, and had to swim and, and make some acquaintances quickly.
It was all right. I took care of him.
Yeah. I think Verl was my first real contact with a minority person when I got here. I came here under stress circumstances.
Well, one, my father was a Kappa. All the men that I knew growing up in Topeka were Kappas. But so when he came down here, it was really different. Again, there were roughly a little over 300 African American students here. We were a very tight-knit group, even though there were, we had the sororities and fraternities, we still all got along really well. And so the social events were in the union, and, we had parties in what's now the KS&U room, and that's kind of, what we did. We rotated parties, people supported one another. We were all still very competitive, and naturally, Kappas ran everything, but but what was really important was for us and was the Kappa house we had at 315 North 14th Street, because that was a kind of a sanctuary away from the pressures, away from, sometimes particularly when you got into classes, you might be the only African American student in that class or the only one that you would see all day, and to have a place to go back to unwind was really important.
For me, that's where I ended up when I first arrived here, was at the Kappa House. And Verl got me in there. They were supposed to have my financial aid package here when I got here, and I was going to find me an apartment, and I had enough money to probably stay in a hotel for a few days. And I went to financial aid. They didn't have the money. Long story short, met Verl. Verl got me into the Kappa House, and I moved into the Kappa House. And from there, it was like, headquarters. And I had been around Kappas all my life, my whole family. And that's really what I knew. And coming here, I wanted to be in the architecture program and engineering, and it was just different. Like I said, it was isolated.
I would tell my college self to don't waver from what you set out to do. One of the things, and again, most of us were really driven, determined when we came here, and we kind of really stayed the course. And sometimes you thought about, did I really want to stay in this environment? But to make it through Kansas State really prepared you to succeed in for the rest of life. And I still go back and draw on the experiences from Kansas State, throughout my whole life, and that's kind of been the foundational basis for whatever success I might have had.
Like my experience, different because I had been in the workforce. And I left the workforce to go back to school, and arriving here, and I had a goal, that I wanted to achieve, and this was an opportunity for me to achieve my goals. And like I said, after arriving here, it was just it was such a cultural shock, and it was like we talked about yesterday about riding in here off the highway and there's nothing, and that's all I can remember is like, oh my God, what have I done? And that's what I kept thinking over and over again. Like, what have I done? What have I done? I was coming down 177. Where is this place? There's nothing here. And that's all I could remember thinking, because I couldn't see anything. There was nothing out there. And then arriving here, and kind of under stressful circumstances, and ended up at the Cap House. And like I said, when I got there, it was like the oasis. You found water in the desert. And for me, it's like been that anchor, for the rest of my life. I mean, the brothers and the people in that house, we're still all close and in contact, and people, for me, it's been 40 some years later that we still in contact, just like we were when we were here. I mean, the engineering and architecture program, there was really no support for us at all. And I mean, most of the minority students that were in architecture, there was little or none. There was none. And I know a couple brothers came back after they had made it in the architecture program and told them, they just kind of blasted them, because we had absolutely no support whatsoever. They were passive with us at best. You always had the feeling that they wouldn't say I didn't want you here, but it's like, if you fail, that would be a good thing.
Yeah. If I could add on to, one of my line brothers was in architecture, and one of the things he said when he came here in architecture, his advisor, first year told him he'd never make it. He'd never make it through architecture. And again, we had a fraternity brother. He came back about 10 years after he graduated for the whole purpose of confronting some professors that he said, told him he would never make it in architecture. For me, I had a dual degree in business and political science. It was a lot more supportive there. But again, it was particularly in business, as you got into the advanced level classes, it was maybe you and one other person, and so that was a challenge, and it was you felt isolated a little bit, but anyway, like I said, you didn't have any choice but to make it. So I was away from K-State for a number of years, because of job, and then even when I came back at first, it was mainly to maybe go to a football or basketball game, and then when I finally did come back and start seeing the university, it was really a big transition and change. And the College of Business, a new building is better. It's just amazing. And just the whole culture has changed. It seems to be a lot more open. I'll still say there still needs to be a lot of things that still need to be done and addressed, to really make it a positive environment for minorities, but it has changed amazing from the time we were here.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I toured the School of Business yesterday, and just the technology just within the school or the buildings that didn't even exist. When I was here, right now, my grandson is here, and he's in the College of Business. And, when I talk to him about the opportunities that he has now, and we look at where we were, he has a mentor. I didn't have a mentor. There was not even I want to say possibility of having a mentor when I was here, and he has all this support, that just, it didn't exist. I mean, a laptop, a computer, we had to schedule a computer time, and all your papers were typed. And you had to think about that. And their cell phones didn't exist. So, I mean, all our communication was verbal, was written. And the Seton Hall, that's pretty much where I live. Yeah. I mean, coming through this building and right to Seton Hall.
It's a testament of how we feel about
Yeah.
Kansas State, that his grandson is here. Both my sons, came here, and we brought a number of students, particularly
yeah.
from Texas, that have come to K-State and graduate. So it is a testament about how we feel about the university and about what's going on here. We come back for the students.
Yeah.
There was, and we come back a lot for the Kappas that are here.
Yeah.
But we come back for the students because there's a lot of other places we'd probably rather be than Manhattan, Kansas, but we come back for the students, for the university, to try to give back and to help as much as we can. And that's really why I come back.
Yeah, like I said, I think both of us, I live in Atlanta now, and both of us mentor young men, and it's very important to us. And so coming back here, which is home, and seeing them and mentoring them, it's just a continuation of what we do and really who we are, And so we when their success is our success. So we know what it was for us, but we want them to be successful and not have to climb a mountain to do it. Let's put it like that.
Having a mentor and having a guide it's critical.
Yeah.
And we were the mentor we had was Verl Schweitzer. Unfortunately, he had to mentor 300 of us.
Yeah.
At the same time. But it is to try to make your way into an environment that you're not familiar with. A mentor, relationships are really important, particularly for somewhere where you may not really feel comfortable or may not be embraced at. To have that guide to help you along, and I would encourage, our Black alumni to really kind of come back and really try to help mentor, the current students, because, whether you had a mentor or whether you didn't, it's important now, and we need to help these young people that are here.
Yeah. It's probably one of the most critical things, to let people know that they're not alone. They're not the only one, and there is help, and you can get to where you're going, that somebody else understands your thoughts or your feelings or how you feel. It was always for me, and I think most of the people in engineering and architecture, to go into a classroom and you're the only minority there, and it's kind of like you kind of like look around and you don't know who to talk to, and what to do or what to say, and you just feel alone, and to know that there's somebody that at least I could have a conversation with. I think I had one probably instructor in construction management that actually just kind of pulled me to the side and talked to me, and that's how I kind of made it through, because he just sat down and talked to me. To come to Kansas is a shock for most people. Yeah, unless you live in the Midwest, or Kansas, it's a cultural shock. Most other colleges that are in rural areas, there are closer, what I want to say, major cities, or close, but to be in Kansas, there's a lot of open space. And to come someplace, especially from an urban environment, most of people, to come here and there's nothing, and it's just that visual mental shock, and which is not bad. I really came to love, but to take you out of this environment where you're used to people around and buildings and traffic or whatever, and then there's nothing. It's quiet. You don't see people. There's no noise.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm probably going to take a little bit different tack, but again, I think that building will provide that sanctuary for all students, that the Cap House provided for us. What I hope that the university does not stop there, because to me what's even more important in that structure is to have a diverse faculty, to have the scholarships for diverse students, to make sure that they're retaining, diverse students, and, because that's their main core is to educate. And so I hope that building doesn't get in the way of their focus on that. Because again, diversity is going to be what's going to drive in the future. That's going to be where the students are going to come from. And if you're a student here and you're not into you haven't been in a diverse environment, then you're going to be at a disadvantage when you leave here and go out to get a job or have a career. Because the world, as you know, is just more and more diverse, and that's not going to change. And so that's kind of my comment on it.
The ladies who are actually filming us here, it's a pleasure for me, and I'm in the photography, but to see them behind the camera, and I get to go in LA. It's rare that I get to see them behind the camera.
You mean women? Is that
Yes.
Okay.
And when I was here, I never would have seen it. I never would have seen it. It wouldn't have happened.
I think was just to see people, and particularly African American students, really achieve here. So, it's one thing is, we were all involved in BSU, but, there were, people that were on the union governing board, people in SGA, people in Blue Key, so the achievement and the influence went far beyond just, and again, we're all big supporters of BSU, but, the students expanded beyond there. And so there was impact that we had, in every area of the campus. And that was really the opportunity to do that was kind of a aha, if I can do that here, then, if I can be vice president of Blue Key, then, I can do that out in the world, or as a good friend of ours, if I can be, the, president of the Senate, of the Student Senate, then I can do that, out into the further world.
I think for me, like I said, it was just being here, again, like I said, coming under difficult circumstances, having nothing, and realizing that through it all, I could survive and make it, and achieve something. And going here, I always tell people, like, I'm not the one to tell me you can't. If you tell me you can't, you just lit a fire. That's what you did.
Push you forward.
Yeah. And I really think, the bonds we forged here with the other students, not only just the Kappas, but, with the other students that were here, that was really important, and we all needed one another to survive.
Yeah.
One of the things that was always interesting is if you've ever been, if you ever spent a summer, at least back then at K-State, we went to summer school, there was like nothing to do. Nothing to do. So me and one of my fraternity brothers, we started a deal at midnight because it was cooler. We would run from the Kappa House, which is over by the city park, and we would run out to the stadium, where the football stadium, and we would run back. Well, as we started doing that, more and more people started joining us. So, we're at 12 people that are running through Manhattan, 12 African American men running through Manhattan after midnight. So the police stopped us right over here where Hula Hands is, and the only reason we didn't get arrested was one of the people that happened to run with us that night was a basketball player that was on the team, and they recognized him and let us go.
Yeah.
And so that was always kind of there's no, we're just out running at night, but anyway, that was one of the things that have always kind of stuck with us, and I don't know if I'm gonna get you to tell it. I want you to tell how you got your how you first got your financial aid. You want to tell that story?
When I got here, and they were supposed to have this financial aid package, and I was to have my money, and I was going to get an apartment. And long story short, when I got there, they didn't have the money, and so I knew I didn't have enough money to stay in a hotel for very long. So I got angry, and they had a typewriter on the desk, and I
typewriter.
I grabbed the typewriter off the desk, and I told them that I was going to take the typewriter and pawn it, and when they got my money, they could get the ticket and get the typewriter back. And because I was angry because I had called here and written, and they said they had it, and and so I was on my way down the stairs, from financial aid, and they were because they didn't know what to do. And then the financial aid director ran out. Wait, we can help you, and he talked me to come back in and bring the typewriter back in there. And right after that, he introduced me to Verl. And they got me some money so I could live and everything like that. And that was my first day here at Kansas State University.
You held the typewriter ransom.
I had the typewriter. I had gone out of the building with the typewriter, and because I had to get the money. I was going to survive. I was going to survive.
And just to add some perspective, It was an electric typewriter,
Yeah.
which probably would cost like an Apple computer,
Right.
Would today. So it wasn't just a regular old typewriter. He got an electric typewriter.
The typewriter was on the secretary's desk, whoever it was standing there talking to me. And I just kept telling, where's my name? She was telling me basically, and it's like August, well, they wouldn't have the check until November. That's what they were telling me. They wouldn't have it till November. And I'm just like, what am I going to do until then? How was I going to pay tuition or whatever? I spoke to a couple of kids yesterday that were guiding us around the business building. The first thing I told them, I said, be fearless. Be fearless. Don't let fear stand in your way. It's probably, having traveled all over the country and whatever, one of the best institutions in the country. And it is probably one of the best kept secrets in the country. People, when I said about it being isolated, there's really a lot of plus to go with that for focus, But it's probably one of the best kept secrets in the country that this institution is here and who it is. I mean, other schools in Kansas get a lot more publicity and what have you, but dollar for dollar and pound for pound, you can't beat K-State. That's it.
Yeah, and I would say to take advantage of every opportunity that you have here. There's student services, but there's very few universities that let the students run the school as much as Kansas State, from SGA to, to Blue Key to other things. I've seen very few schools that give their students that kind of access. So take advantage of that. Branch out. Don't be afraid to try different things, try different organizations, and use your network here, because the people that you're going to meet, not only in BSU or in your fraternity or sorority, but into SGA or Blue Key, those are people that are going to, along with you, they're going to be presidents of the company, they're going to be congressmen, they're going to be governors. Use that network, and take advantage of every opportunity, and don't be afraid to try something.